So are you addicted to your smartphone? Well, that is nothing compared to this. How about sex robots with artificial intelligence? One woman engaged to a robot?
For real, folks, we've been waiting to tell you about this all morning. CNN's new series, Mostly Human, with Lori Siegel, explores love, sex, and the growing powers of modern technology in our daily lives.
It's just insane to me that something that somebody does online would result in execution.
This is where bits and bytes meet flesh and blood.
Do you think that people will fall in love with robots?
I feel like it's inevitable.
Tech is now love, war, it's life, death. Ultimately, tech is mostly human. And you guys, this did take me to a sex doll / robot factory in California where they're actually building artificial intelligence to go in these robots that look increasingly human. And it sounds so crazy, but there's going to be an app for your phone that almost has like a girlfriend that you talk to, like they call it intimate AI, I think different than Siri. And the idea is that you could plug it into a robotic head. It's unbelievable stuff. And I think what's more interesting, even than this kind of crazy fringe story, is these larger questions. You know, the guy that builds these robots, he said to me, I don't think we need human connection to be happy. This engagement party for a robot, which was just mind-blowing. When I interviewed Lily, the woman who's engaged the robot, she said to me, robot's never going to cheat. It's going to be safe, and you can program all of this stuff. So there's these really human, weird, vulnerable moments that come with these larger questions. And the series explores even kind of some of the larger issues with technology and the ethics, now that we're kind of taking a step back.
It's a tradition Patrick Caskew remembers being a part of.
I've had girls that I've taken to the father-daughter dance, and I enjoyed it very much.
It wasn't until recently the PTA president heard concerns the Crocker Riverside Elementary School's father-daughter dance and mother-son hike aren't traditions everyone cherishes.
We got a request from a couple parents to be more inclusive and change the name.
The school now wants to redefine the PTA fundraising event. The father-daughter dance will be promoted as a family dance.
However the child wants to define their family, whoever they want to bring with them, they're able to do that.
The goal is to be more welcoming of the diverse families at Crocker Riverside.
It's not just about making money for the school, it's about having a good time and getting people together at the same time.
School principal Daniel McCord is on board. He says the change is being used as a teaching moment for students.
When they walk into their house, it will look different than mine, and that's great, and we want to embrace that and learn from it.
McCord says there hasn't been any pushback. Many families are supportive and appreciative. He says it's about time they made this change.
Probably several months too late, but I'm just glad we're finally there and moving forward.
Just when you thought college campuses could not get more out of touch, Southern Illinois University delivers. Students will have nap-ins in the library.
Yeah, this is really happening.
Yes.
This, according to the school, this 3-week project will give students the space they need to express their dreams for the future. Interactive art provides public space for honest and open dialogue, which helps foster imaginative hope for students concerned about diversity.
Someone actually wrote that. So we read that statement. I don't even know that I understand what it said. We read it. We've read it a couple of times. What does that even mean?
Right, so the Women's Resource Center is hosting a nap-in event where they're encouraging students to come into the library, take a 2-hour nap, and dream of diversity. And then they're turning an art project out of it. Honestly, it's embarrassing. College students are adults, and they're expected to grow in college.
And they're paying for that.
This is the type of You're right. This is the type of childish behavior we see all the time with campus reform in the Leadership Institute, and they really need to get a reality check.
In a story posted at Breitbart News Online, new details are emerging surrounding allegations against the FBI that the agency employed Best Buy Geek Squad workers to conduct surveillance on American citizens. Documents released on OC Weekly reveal evidence that the agency trained Geek Squad techs on law enforcement operational tactics and shared lists of targeted citizens to covertly increase surveillance of the public. Additional evidence in the same documents showed that the company employees often snooped for the FBI and was even considering writing a software program to assist the FBI sifting through customers' computers without probable cause for any crime.
With speeds that reach only 4 miles an hour, robots like this won't win any marathons, but they might change the face of food delivery. Already, they're getting a lot of looks.
What was your reaction when you first saw it?
Well, just thought the new space age, I guess.
Created by Starship Technologies, these sidewalk rovers pick up takeout or groceries.
Let's check it out here.
Then bring the food to hungry customers. The company is teaming up with the delivery service DoorDash to test the robots in Redwood City, California. For now, handlers escort the machines while someone else operates them remotely, but someday they'll travel solo, even in crosswalks, with operators only stepping in when they hit obstacles.
It does have 9 cameras front and back and has ultrasonics, so it has a bubble of perception, if you will, and awareness to be able to avoid obstacles.
And to prevent thefts, the lid can only be unlocked by whoever places the order.
We have alarms if you pick up the robot, like sirens, like a car alarm. It's tracked to the nearest inch.
The robots are also at work in 4 European cities, along with Fayetteville, Arkansas, and Washington, D.C., where today the company officially launched, partnering with Postmates. Recently, Virginia became the first state to allow delivery robots on sidewalks, and Florida and Idaho are considering similar laws. While there are concerns such technology could steal jobs, DoorDash says the goal is to complement its workforce with the robots tackling shorter trips.
It really allows us to free up our human dashers to take on the more complex, longer distance deliveries.
So someday a 40-pound robot just might show up at your door.
Physicist Stephen Hawking is again raising the alarm that humankind needs to shape up if it hopes to survive. In an interview with The Times, Hawking reiterated that humankind faces a slew of threats ranging from climate change to mass species extinction. He noted that technological advances have helped humans achieve seemingly insurmountable feats, but may also lead to our demise. Since civilization began, aggression has been useful inasmuch as it has definite survival advantages, he told The Times. It is hardwired into our genes by Darwinian evolution. Now, however, technology has advanced at such a pace that this aggression may destroy us all by nuclear or biological war. We need to control this inherited instinct by our logic and reason. But despite the issues facing humankind, there may be hope for our survival, according to Hawking. but only if we all work together.
The UN says years of war, poverty, and drought have left more than 20 million people facing famine. Tony Ducopel has a report, and we warn you, the images are upsetting. They show the heartbreaking severity of the crisis.
In search of relief, the hungry walk for miles. But without enough food to go around, vast stretches of Africa and the Middle East are now on the brink of famine.
We stand at a critical point in our history. Already at the beginning of the year, we are facing the largest humanitarian crisis since the creation of the United Nations.
On Friday, United Nations humanitarian chief Stephen O'Brien warned world leaders that without a relief effort, millions could die, further destabilizing the region. The crisis is centered on 4 countries and more than 20 million people, including nearly 2 million in Nigeria, 3 million in Somalia, 5 million in Sudan, and 14 million in Yemen. In all, about 1.4 million children face an imminent risk of death, according to UNICEF spokeswoman Marixie Mercado.
Children are dying because of man-made, conflict-affected disasters. In 2017, that's shameful.
While the causes vary by country, war and poverty haunt all 4 nations and have for years. The fatal difference now could be money. The United Nations says it has just 2% of the 5.6 billion it needs to avert disaster. This Somali man said, "We pray to God to alleviate the suffering. Equally, we are asking the humanitarian agencies to help us."
Some U.S. hospitals are fighting off a potentially deadly fungus that doesn't always respond to drugs. More than 30 patients have been diagnosed with Candida auris, a fungal infection typically found in hospitals or similar places. A majority of people diagnosed with the fungus have died, but it's tough to know exactly how dangerous it is because the fungus has affected people who were already very ill. One concerning thing about Candida auris is some strains have been resistant to the 3 main types of antifungal drugs. Cases are starting to become more prevalent in the United States, particularly in the Northeast. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said that 28 out of the 35 documented U.S. cases were in New York State. CDC officials said they're working to better understand Candida auris and told hospitals to keep an eye out for the fungus.
Winter is almost over in the serene Japanese countryside. One can see signs of plum and cherry buds, flowers the Japanese love so much, ready to bloom. But for the farmers in this area, in Fukushima, harsh conditions were likely to continue as they struggle to recover from the nuclear accident 6 years ago. Save those in the coastal areas damaged by tsunami and areas still restricted with high levels of radiation, many farmers have recovered, producing a variety of products available in the market. However, still many people are reluctant to sell or buy Fukushima products due to concerns of residual radiation in the food. According to Fukushima government, price of rice and beef are still 5 to 10% lower than national average. Fukushima is the second largest producer of peach in Japan, but its price is 23% lower than average. Central and district governments are putting all efforts to convince the safety of Fukushima products.
All food produced in Fukushima must first pass a test for radiation to be sold on the market.
Police in the western German city of Essen closed down one of the country's largest shopping centres Saturday after receiving concrete indications of a possible attack.
We received during the course of yesterday some serious indications from security circles that an attack was planned for today and will be carried out, so we were forced to take these measures.
Germany is on high alert following major radical Islamist attacks in France and Belgium. And in December, a failed asylum seeker from Tunisia drove a truck into a Berlin Christmas market, killing 12. Essen, in the industrial Ruhr region, has nearly 600,000 inhabitants. Many express their fears, with little detail being provided by police.
It's not good. It's an unpleasant feeling, also for the future, because you don't know how it will look on Monday, if you can go to work when the mall opens, and if you're inside, then something could maybe happen. That is very unpleasant feeling.
Armed police and vans surrounded the shopping centre, but roads nearby were open to traffic.
Unknown attackers launched a tear gas attack on a train in Hamburg. Reports say at least 6 were injured and 50 people total were affected and led to a massive police presence at the Hamburg train station. 2 young men are believed to have perpetrated the attack. Paramedics and police arrived on the scene to treat the passengers of the train for various ailments, including respiratory injuries.
A specialist bomb squad has been sent to the Swedish city of Gothenburg after an explosion. According to Breitbart News, this second threat comes just 24 hours after a suspected car bomb rocked Stockholm. Authorities suspect the blast was caused by an attack involving some form of homemade device. The exact mechanism of the Gothenburg explosion is still unclear. However, the number of grenade attacks and car fires in Sweden has shot up in recent years, possibly because of warring gangs.
We begin with the security breach at the White House, the first known breach since President Trump took office.
Tonight, an alleged intruder is in custody after that breach at the White House while the president was at home. The incident happened just before midnight Friday night, when a fence jumper wearing a backpack scaled a fence approximately 6 feet tall. The intruder had to make it over the perimeter fence right there with spikes on the top meant to keep people out. Court documents say he then made his way onto the grounds, hid behind a pillar, and approached the south portico entrance, not far from the east wing, where the first family's residence is located. The fence scaler was then stopped and questioned, allegedly telling the agent he was a friend of the president and had an appointment. This video from that time shows the lights on the South Lawn suddenly turning on as he was apparently discovered. The Secret Service arrested 26-year-old Jonathan Tran from California without incident. Authorities say he was carrying 2 cans of mace and a letter to President Trump that mentioned Russian hackers. He also reportedly told authorities he was schizophrenic. Today at lunch, President Trump thanking the Secret Service.
Secret Service did a fantastic job. It was a troubled person.
Tonight, the first breach of the White House during the Trump administration is under investigation.
This is supposed to be one of the safest places in the world. How can people keep jumping over this fence?
Because this fence is short enough that literally anybody that's able-bodied can get over the fence.
This flag-wearing intruder scaled the fence on Thanksgiving Day in 2015. The Secret Service surrounded him and took him into custody. And this man, carrying a knife, sprinted across the lawn and was caught just after he got all the way inside.
A U.S. judge will not issue an emergency order to halt the Trump administration's second travel ban, at least for now. 7 states are currently challenging the travel ban in court: Oregon, Washington, Minnesota, New York, Massachusetts, Maryland, and Hawaii. U.S. District Court Judge James Robart, who issued a restraining order on the first ban, declined to extend that order to cover the second. He said before he could rule on the issue, a new complaint or motion would have to be filed. The second travel ban is more narrowly written than the first. 6 of the 7 original Muslim-majority countries are included. Iraq was omitted after it agreed to increase visa screenings and data sharing. And while the ban still temporarily suspends the U.S. refugee program, it no longer bars Syrian refugees indefinitely. The new travel ban is set to take effect on March 16th.
A war of words. First with Germany, now the Netherlands.
Relations between Turkey and the Netherlands are on shaky ground amid a growing diplomatic spat over Turkish campaigning in Holland. After the Dutch government barred Turkey's foreign minister from landing in Rotterdam, the row reached new levels late on Saturday night, when the Turkish Family Affairs Minister was prevented from entering the consulate.
binası ve ben bir ülkenin bakanıyım. Hiçbir uluslararası teamülde böyle bir şey yok. Bunu kabul etmiyorum, bunu reddediyorum.
Zij weigert dat. Zij is de minister van een Turkse overheid. Zij wil niet.
Overseas tonight, the deadly twin bomb attacks in Syria. Explosions ripping through the center of Damascus. At least 40 people killed visiting religious shrines, 120 wounded. The attacks targeting holy sites.
The bloody debris from the blasts litter the streets of Damascus. Buses riddled with shrapnel, a mangled wheelchair among the wreckage. The attackers striking Shiite tourists from Iraq visiting a holy site. At least 40 are dead, more than 100 injured. This Iraqi lucky to be alive. We finished the visit and then the explosions happened, he says. People near me were all killed. No one has yet to claim responsibility. But ISIS has attacked Shiite shrines in the Syrian capital before. More than 60 people died in a bombing last year.
Damascus is Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's power base. These attacks may only serve to further embolden terrorist organizations in the region.
Syria's President Bashar al-Assad responded to America's growing military presence. He called the deployment of additional U.S. troops to Syria an invasion.
Did you open the door for these American troops?
No, we didn't. Any foreign troops coming to Syria without our invitation or consultation or permission, they are invaders.